sneeze. Sorry, I should have a sneeze button on here, but I don't. So sometimes home care is not ideal, and when it's not, then we help the family find an assisted living, a boarding care, an Alzheimer's care unit, any of these locations that are usually cash pay, where the senior can go and for a reasonable price be able to have the caregiving that they need, the health that they need, as well as the social aspects that they want, to be able to still have activities, go to movies, and have different friends and different things that they can do. And those really are the two businesses that we have focused on ever since 2007. It's what our franchise partners also focus on, and you'll hear more about that from Asa. And this is a subject that we go into in a lot more depth as far as our differentiation. But just to leave it here, and Asa will talk a little bit about how this has worked for him in his market. But one of the biggest things that we focus on is the fact that the home care market is something like a $50 billion market. Like, it's crazy how much money is in this market. And most of our competitors are focused on cash, on clients that just pay cash. We focus on that as well, but there's these other payers like the Veterans Administration, workers' comp, and long-term care insurance that allow us to build larger businesses, provide better services for our clients, and it really differentiates us from the rest of the competition out there. Again, it's a subject that we go into a lot more detail with you as you go through the discovery process, and of course, Asa will touch on that as we go through this call. But it's really important that if you're getting into home care, that you really understand what's happening in the industry and understand how we differentiate. If you understand that, then you'll be able to really figure out if you would be the right franchisee for a home care company. All right. So again, want to introduce you to Asa Shuey. What's cool about Asa is we were really, really lucky to find Asa. Asa is good friends with our first franchisee ever, Robert Christensen, and I'll let Asa talk about how he was able to connect with Robert and how that happened, how they know each other. I think it's a cool story. But what's cool about Asa again is he was one of our first 10 franchisees, and so what you know about him is that he's a little bit of a rule breaker. He's willing to take that risk, and people come in different shapes, right? Some folks are not comfortable being the guinea pig. I mean, if you're the one in the first 10 franchisees, listen, you are a guinea pig, right? You're going into an unproven system, and it takes a certain type of person to be able to do that. And so we're really proud to have him as our franchisee. He is consistently in our top performing franchisees this year. We were together in Nicaragua together with him and his wife, and it was a total blast. And so I think he's a great franchisee to connect with because he's had so much experience in the business. He's grown an amazing operation there in Wichita. So Asa, welcome to the call.
Thank you so much, Marcus. I really appreciate you having me be on, and really excited to talk with everybody today. So yeah, no, it's such a great experience, and when you're introducing me there, thank you for that great introduction.
Yeah.
I was sitting there thinking about, man, in the very beginning, flying out, doing the discovery, drawing the territory map, and meeting with you guys, and and you said top 10, so actually the number 3rd franchisee, and I just remember going out there and meeting with you guys and meeting Chad and Tafa, and it's so funny because Chad's like creating and designing with him and Tafa the training points the day before. He's going to present to us. So he's literally creating them at the time, the day before he was presenting and training us on it. So just an amazing thing to think back and, reminisce on, and then really, truly amazing to see the growth and advancement that you guys have created since then, and so much you've created and advanced and built upon from the beginning. So it's truly amazing to see that. So thank you guys for...
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying thank you so much for, letting me be, a part of the conference today, and for giving me the opportunity to share my story. So absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. Hey, and by the way, I think it's a really cool story because Robert Christensen was our very first franchisee, and really he was the franchisee the person that really sparked the idea of starting franchising the company. Will you share how we reached out to you and how you guys know each other?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I met Rob when I was younger, probably 13, 14, and he was actually involved as one of our scout leaders. And so I just got to know him back then and going out, young men's activities and, camping activities and scout activities and scout camps and getting to know him quite well through that, and then just stayed in touch for all the years from scouts to going through college and going into a professional career, and just stayed in touch with Rob ever since then. So it's just been a great mentor to me, kind of a big brother almost to me, and it's just really helped me grow, as a person, professionally, and so I was really blessed to have him be introduced to me earlier in my life. But, it's kind of funny because I still remember the day that, him and I were talking, and I was literally coming out of a case. So in the medical device industry, we refer to them as cases. So I was coming out of a case of a procedure at one of the VAs, actually. It was through the VA system here, the Bob Dole, and I remember seeing a missed call from Rob, and I get out to the car and was like, oh yeah, give him a call, see how he's been doing. So I get out of my case at the VA, and I call, hear the voicemail about how he's getting into this home care industry and this company in Amada, and so I call him, and I just still remember that very first conversation I had with him in the parking lot of the VA about him deciding to get into this home care industry, and thinking, what is he talking about? But no, how amazing it's been since that. So Rob being really my introduction to it was on that day, but really keeping in contact with him when I was in device sales and kind of seeing what he was doing, talking to him. He was explaining to me about the industry, about the business, how remarkably different Amada was with our structure, with our company, our approaches, the services that we provide. And it just became a point was like, wow, that's amazing. Not only is the industry amazing, the service is amazing, but really the differentiation between Amada and all the other companies out there is like, wow, that's amazing. And so, that eventually led to, hey, I feel so comfortable and confident about this that I want to, be a franchise here in Kansas. So, so Rob and I decided to, make that commitment and open an office out here, and it's been amazing ever since.
That's kind of funny because our graphic designer thinks that where is it? That Wichita is in Washington.
Yeah, I saw that WA, and I was like, oh, there might be one there. So
Wichita, Washington. Mark actually sent me a question saying, where is Wichita, Washington? so Mark, thank you for catching that. It's a magical place.
I have the rights to that franchise area now, right?
Now you do, exactly.
Yeah.
If there is a Wichita, Washington, it's yours. You can take it.
I love it.
That's awesome. Hey, so now so tell me this. I remember when you first started. You had a great gig. You were doing your what's that? Yeah. So let me bring it back here. So when you first started and you talk about the differentiation, tell us about did it really bear out in your market? And I'll tell you this. When we first started franchising and our first franchisees came on, we had the hunch that the differentiation strategy of working with long-term care insurance, the VA, workers' comp, and going after that sort of business, we knew it worked really well here in Orange County, but we were really worried. We were like, we think it will work in other markets as well. So, and by the way, don't sugarcoat, because if you guys talk to any of our franchisees, they'll tell you how unbelievably hard this business is. Like You guys always tell us that you've never worked harder. With that in mind, tell us about then going and actually executing our differentiation strategy. How did that work for you in your market?
No, it is, and it's a commitment. I mean, at first, especially your first 1 or 2 years, I mean, it's a huge commitment. But Vince Lombardi, I mean, when you talk about what it takes to be number one, the word that he always uses, what does it take to be number one? And the word that he always uses is sacrifice. So, it is a huge commitment your first and second year, but that's what it takes to be, successful. And so, once you go into it with that mindset, which I think that everybody that is at this level and looking at starting a business, going into a business, can understand and appreciate that. So that's just the way it is when you get into it. So as to the long-term care and the veterans, it was really amazing, because when you go out and I started talking to people in our area, it was basically received as, wow, this is amazing. You mean you guys know about this? You can help with this. You can help with the policies, help with the claims. You can help with VA, veterans, benefits. They were almost surprised, kind of shocked, because it was an area that I had many case managers and social workers talk to me about and just point blank say, nobody's ever approached me or talked about this before. Nobody has ever even talked to me about this before. And so it was really amazing to be able to go in and provide a service right off the bat, that we could start working with those clients right away. You weren't coming in and just saying a Me Too company, right? I wasn't just coming in and saying, we do home care too, me too. And there's no differentiation. There's no difference, no differentiation except the company name, right? That was not the case at all. And so when you're looking at franchises, guys, in the very beginning, you have to know that there is a huge difference between Amada and the other companies. There's a lot more than just those couple of areas, but I'll stay on point here. So going in and talking to them about long-term care, veterans benefits, work comp benefits with the other companies was a huge differentiator. Right off the bat, you're talking to clients that exist, that are being discharged, that need care, clients that are, patients that they see every day, and now you're talking to them about how you can provide a service to them that is much needed, that nobody else has even brought up to them before. So it was amazing to be able to go in and bring that value right away to them.
Now, what about you? Because you started in 2013, so this is year 5, Asa, right?
Yes, sir.
Man, that's crazy. So,
yeah,
I think, and it might have been Mark, or no, I can't remember who it was that I was talking to that said, well, maybe back in 2007, maybe back in 2010 or 13, maybe, other companies were not doing the filing of long-term care insurance benefits or helping with VA benefits. But what about today? Like, have you seen the competition in your market starting to go, whoa, wait a minute, that's what Asa's doing? Okay, I'm going to start doing that as well. Has that started?
I mean, here and there, with maybe one or a company here or there. By and far, no. I mean, there's companies here or there that do maybe assist with the veterans benefits, but for long-term care, I haven't really seen it. But the other thing is that, I would say that's a huge compliment that they, would want to try to copy what I'm doing. But I always keep in mind that, I'll do it better. You know what I mean? Even if they say they can or try to do it better, or try to do it as well, just establishing yourself as the expert, and, that, they're just trying to copy us, and that we'll always do it better than them. So cool. I haven't really seen much of it with the long-term care or the other ones. One other company I've seen have some brochures out on the veterans benefits, but it's kind of interesting because I talked to the social workers about that, and they just say that, they've gotten feedback that it's, they really don't do much. They kind of just provide information on it. So it's not really like they help people with actually obtaining the benefit, having an expert on staff that Amada provides to help them understand, what is the benefit? How do you qualify for the benefit? We'll help you do all the paperwork to achieve the benefit. So they don't go to the level that we do. Absolutely not.
Okay, good. See, and that's what I thought was so interesting nationwide is that there's such a moat around that service that we provide, either because they can't afford to provide it or their expertise. And that was something that I asked Chad when we started a franchise. I was like, well, wait a minute, nobody else does that. But now, but go back to, we talk about how hard this is, and we always talk about, the sacrifice of it. So lead us through, when you had no clients and you wake up on a Monday. Tell us just what are the days like in that early days, and then I always have like a 5-part question. So sorry, but like in your early days, what was that Tuesday, Wednesday, and then today, change as far as your activity and the things that you got to focus on every day.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So in the very beginning, it was just trying to get everything organized. Like, how do you put your files together? Where do you put your desks? Where do you put this file, that file, the paperwork? How do we get everything organized and structured in the very beginning? And then, what brochures do we need? What items do we need? So it's just kind of getting everything ordered, built, organized to be able to really go out there and start marketing. So,
right.
That was kind of a little bit of a struggle on kind of what you're looking at in the very beginning. And, that just comes with time and a little bit of help. But I remember the days that Chad and Tafa came out and worked with me really helped out a lot, which the support that Amada provides is just superlative. I mean, just amazing at every level, no matter if you're in the beginning, in the middle, advanced, to keep supporting you, to keep helping you grow yourself, grow your business. So at every level, they've helped just unbelievable. And so in the very beginning, it was just all about getting stuff organized, and then where do we go? Who do we go call on? And it was just every day was just, let's go call, let's make calls to this social worker, let's make calls to this case manager, let's go call. And so it was really 100% at that time, sales and recruiting. So you're, working on doing your sales calls part of the day, and then doing your recruiting calls and interviewing, the other part of the day or on a different day. So that's basically what consumes you in the very beginning. And it makes sense, of course, but that is what I remember doing every day, all day long, was recruiting.
Yeah, it never stops, right? You're always out there marketing. And by the way, how much has that changed now?
Which is something that when you're coming from the sales background, device background, that's something you're used to doing every day, all day long. So it's like it's a normal, fluid transition from how do you put your business plan together, you put your sales route together, you put your sales call and presentation together, and you go out there and you make sales calls. I mean, it's just an easy, smooth transition. So it was not anything different or unusual to me. In fact, it came very easily.
Yeah, that's true.
To transition into that. So today, I mean, it's different. When you have more clients, more staff, field staff, management staff, office staff, your focus is more, I still do the sales calls and a lot of the sales calls and meeting with new clients, but then you have a lot of other stuff that comes into play. Like, we have our weekly meetings. We have our managing the office staff, dealing with issues that arise with, either the office staff or the clients or the caregivers. So it's kind of a lot of the same. It's just, you're dealing with a lot more of it. And so you have to put people in place to start dealing with all the different activities and situations that arise, and then supporting the people that you've now put in places to handle those situations. So it's a lot more supportive role at this point, but I still do a lot of the sales and client meetings, as well as I pretty much do all of the new long-term care claims. So anytime it's a new claim or if we have to file an appeal or anything like that, I handle all of that. So.
Got it. So you still feel like you need to be involved there, and what is it about keeping that involvement that you feel like it's that you're not ready to hand that off yet?
I enjoy doing it. I like doing it. And the other thing is that I've just become an expert on it. I've just become an expert on the policies, the claims, the Kansas laws regulating the claims. And so for me, I like doing it. I enjoy doing it. And I've become so knowledgeable that for me, it's just what I enjoy doing and I just can get it done in a matter of minutes. So It's just something I like. But the other thing that you have to worry about in the very beginning is, this is something that was a stark difference in the beginning with hiring somebody, which it is now. In the very beginning, you're doing recruiting, you're doing scheduling, so you're building the shifts when you get your first couple of clients. And you're also, depending on the clients that you have, your first 5 to 10, you're kind of hiring caregivers that maybe work part-time. They may work for another agency, and so you have to be a lot more lenient in the beginning on who you're hiring, who you're bringing on. But now, when we bring people on, it's like we kind of have more say in the matter of who we want to hire. And what I mean by that is we like to hire people on full-time with us. If they're working, we don't like to hire part-time people that work part-time for us and part-time for another home care company like in the beginning. And, there's a myriad of reasons why, but that's something that's changed as well.
Yeah. Now, guys, I want to make sure that you're getting your questions in. I've got one question here from Mark, but please make sure that you raise your hand or type in your question there in the question box. This call is for you. There's nothing you can't ask. So please type it in there. Mark was asking, how long did it take you, I don't know if you'll remember, but how long did it take you to get your very first client when you opened your doors?
It took us that's a great question. Let me see here. It took us about 2 to 3 weeks to get our very first client.
That's crazy. 2 to 3 weeks.
And it was a long-term care client working with one of the long-term care companies. So
that's amazing. Okay. And hey, follow up to that, Asa, what do you think was the hardest thing about building this business over the last 5 years? What would you advise somebody like, hey man, I'm thinking about doing this? What was the hardest thing?
I mean, I would say the hardest thing is just understanding your commitment level that you're going to have to make. I mean, sometimes it's hard to understand the commitment level that you have to make in the very beginning to, I'm gonna have to take care of in the beginning, recruiting, sales, scheduling, all of those things. And then the next challenge comes is once you start growing, when do you put someone into place? How do you put them into place? What responsibilities do they take? And then as you keep growing, when we add somebody else on, what do they do? How does that work with the other person in the office? How do we manage that? So those are the two things that I think was the most difficult in the very beginning, was understanding the commitment level, and two, understanding when to add more staff and what those responsibilities of those staff are going to actually be and how that works. So it was difficult, but I know that I had a partner that had experienced it and been there at some point, and so I couldn't tell you how many calls we made to Chad and Tafa and the other support guys that helped us understand it, help plan it, help execute what they've seen to be successful, and so it was just amazing to have those guys' support.
Hey, and sometimes the folks ask also, as far as it's a franchise, and obviously the franchise agreement is super restrictive. It's written that way. Tell us about, what has been your ability to kind of do your own thing and create? And even though we'll give you advice, do you feel restricted, or do you feel like you can kind of run your business?
No, I don't feel that. I've never had that view. That's kind of odd for that to even be brought up. Some other companies may be that way, but I've never ever felt that way with Amada. No, I mean, in fact, I've done my own commercials. I helped design some of my own brochures. No, absolutely not. I don't feel that it's restrictive at all. In fact, I feel quite the opposite. I feel that it's a symbiotic partnership. I mean, if you need help or feel that this way would work better in your area, or if this commercial or this brochure or this idea would be more benefit to you in your area and your business, then there's no restriction at all. In fact, I've got help and feedback and guidance on things that I wanted to do differently. So no, absolutely not. I felt that it's been nothing but support, no restrictions at all. And that's the great thing about the way this is designed is, you're plugging into an amazing company support blueprint, but you still have the freedoms to run your own company how you see fit. So
that's cool.
I hope that helps answer that question, Marcus.
Yeah, it does. I've had sometimes folks that are looking at the business, they go through it, and they're sort of, the folks who are highly, highly entrepreneurs, like, well, I want to be able to change things. I want to be able to do it my way. We're like, man, we love that. That's great. And in fact, what's cool is, I think at the annual conference, for example, we're now to the point where most of the annual conference is you guys teaching each other, right? Of like, hey, here's what's working for me. And some of the biggest aha moments we've seen from other franchisees today, it's not really from Chad and Tafa. They're getting aha moments from like guys like you and everybody else who's doing stuff in their markets, right?
Absolutely. I mean, and then I would say that, hey, if somebody else has found something to be successful or more efficient or better way of doing something than what the standard idea is, then I want to know about it,
Yeah.
Please tell me. So absolutely.
Now as I remember, Amber, your wife, you guys, was she ever involved in the business, or were you a one-man band?
No, Amber's been involved and instrumental since the very beginning and still is to this day. So she's, in the office and helps out tremendously, and, could not account for any of this success without her. So absolutely.
That's awesome. So talk about that. I have folks on the phone now who are husband and wife teams. We have folks that are not, right, who are just one-man bands. We have some folks that are partnerships. I know that this is what right? It was you and Amber, slugging it out, going out there. What is your advice as far as how that partnership has been, and if you were just by yourself, some advice to the folks out there?
Yeah, no, and that's what's so amazing about this company, about Amada, is that you do have the freedom to kind of run how you want. But the other amazing part about this is that I've seen guys be tremendously successful in this franchise with Amada and in this business by doing it 100% differently than me. And I wouldn't say that there's a right or wrong way of doing it, and that's what the beautiful thing about this is the fact that you can design it how you want, which may be completely different from somebody else, but still be tremendously successful. So, I've seen guys that are just one-man shows that have been very successful on the way they design it. Amber and I decided to, but on the other hand, let me back up a little bit, but on the other hand, if you decide to go into this business with spouse, this is one of the few businesses that you can actually do that. Can get along well, kind of chuckle at that, but, get along well in the office, be a partnership with your husband or wife, and be successful with it. So one of the few companies I would say that, this design or this company can allow you to do that. So Amber and I, have been partners with this, since the very beginning. So in the beginning, I would do the sales calls, and she would do some of the recruiting, some of the paperwork, administrative stuff, hiring, ordering supplies. She would help order supplies. She would help with client concerns, questions, help, with a myriad of activities in the office, files, making sure those are done right while I'm out there, selling and meeting with clients. So we're both kind of, partners, but we both do the activities where our strong points are, if that makes sense, which has been an amazing benefit because her strong points are more administrative and files, all those activities, keeping count of files, due dates, billing, those types of things, where my more strong points are out meeting with sales and recruiting, those types of activities. So we're able to partner together. In the office, we have a lot of activities that can be done. So there's never a lack of work for what marries to your strong points in the office with your spouse. So both can stay busy all day long doing activities. So and things that need to be done, which is nice. You're never veering into each other's lanes. You're never overstepping each other on different duties. Hey, who's doing this? Who's doing that? Well, I was going to do this. Well, I was going to do that. There's so many different things that you can do to where, you're in charge of this and this and this, and I'm going to work on this and this and this, and it's very symbiotic. It's very efficient and profitable. So, absolutely.
That's cool. Hey, Michael's got a good question. Michael, this is really good. He's asking, how long did it take you to establish a strong presence in the region? And then in parentheses, did they even know Amada in your market before you came on board? And also, is there any standard Amada sales collaterals when you get started?
So I would say it depends. No. So in the very beginning, I'll answer that. Nobody had really known about Amada or heard about Amada since we were kind of just starting out. Now that may be different. It's probably different now after 3 or 4 years with more franchisees and more national recognition. So it's probably a lot different than when I started out. But no, nobody had really heard of Amada, which was fine. It didn't bother me. So with different case managers and social workers, it's different to be established with them. Some it's relatively easy to start talking with and build a relationship, where others take a lot longer too, which is very familiar with doctors and cardiologists and surgeons. If you guys are from Device area, you can relate to that very easily. Some physicians are easier to talk to than others, and some take quite a while to build a rapport and relationship with. So I would say realistically, to start to get known and seen in the market, I would say probably I would say that it took us 1 to 2 years to start being recognized in our area as a as a franchise in this area that provides care. So to the collateral, are you referring to like sales aids and brochures and stuff? Is that kind of what the question was asking?
I think Michael, you can correct us, but I think Michael was wondering, when you start with Amada, are you having to come up with all your sales collaterals, or is there stuff there that you can use and print off and be able to use in your market?
No, everything was plug and play, and we used everything that was provided through Amada. So we used the brochures, the home care brochures, the placement brochures. We used the long-term care brochures, the veterans brochures. Everything was available for us to where all we had to do was hit order. And the other thing that was nice about Amada is that there's so much more that goes into it than just brochures. You have your insurance. You have your marketing places. Where do you order your pins and shirts and brochures from? So that was all laid out for us. So all we had to do was go to the website and hit how much we wanted. It was ordered, shipped to us, and we could start using it from the beginning. So, however, I did make some changes to the front of the brochures and some of the other brochures through the marketing company that I felt was maybe a better fit for me in my area. So I had the freedom to make some minor adjustments and additions to that, as well as my website. So we were able to kind of use what Amada had available, make some minor adjustments and tweaks that I wanted on there for mine and my area, and go with it. So absolutely, all of that is available.
And we welcome that. Yeah, many of the brochures we have today are what they didn't used to look exactly like that, but our franchise partners have come back and given us different suggestions, and so we love that. You know, a lot of times it's like there's one that we do an ice cream social, and so Jeremy here, most of you have spoken to Jeremy. He does your territory review. I can't remember who it was that came up with the ice cream social, but now we have this whole marketing piece that is based on inviting your folks to do an ice cream social with them, and the design and what to say and all that came from one of our franchisees. So,
nice.
Yeah, so we love that. So Michael said that's exactly what we want to know. Sales collaterals, presentation. So yeah, Michael, everything is there. We actually it's over 1,000 pieces that we have that you guys can use and adapt and either use as they are or talk to our marketing team and make changes as you need them. Brian has a really good question. So what was the biggest challenge in overcoming the learning curve transitioning from medical device to the senior care industry? I love that question. And Asa, you and I were talking about that earlier today. What was it? So again, the question is, what's the biggest challenge in overcoming the learning curve between transitioning from medical device to the senior care industry?
You know, it was for me, it was such an easy transition because I knew how to create my sales calls from device. I knew about medical background. I knew how to go and make sales calls. I knew how to build the territory. We know about certain things, like we know the difference from the private insurance versus Medicare versus Medicaid. So really, to me, it was such a smooth transition. It was like just such an easy transition from device sales to senior care business. The devices that we used and sold and procedures in the cath labs that I assisted with, all of the clients and patients that we used were seniors. They were all above the age of 75. And so for me, the patient population that I was already used to working with in the device sales was seniors, senior citizens as well. So I could relate to that. I think the biggest struggle for me going from device to the senior care market was just kind of understanding, the different how the business works. So like how the seniors, find companies, right? And who exactly do you reach out to? Like, where am I fishing for the fish? Do I talk to the social workers or case managers? So I had never really worked with social workers before. I'd never worked with case managers before. I'd never worked with that side of the business.
You were calling on physicians, right?
Physicians, and then also, materials management, the guys that,
that's right.
The review committees and materials management where they're, you have to go through the review committee and give a presentation and all that. So that's the side that I was on. So, so that was kind of a struggle to me is, how do I get to those people? What exactly, who am I talking to? Or what exactly are they, what are their talking points? Those types of things. So the other stuff was really an easy transition. So what was phenomenal, though, was and I keep going back to this, but it's true, the support that I got in the very beginning from Amada to help me understand, this is the playbook, these are our people that we reach out to, this is how we make contacts to, this is kind of what they're looking for, this is how we help sell to them. And so once that was presented to me, and I helped understand it and helped understand where the social workers were. How do you find case management? It's not listed on the roster at the hospital. So
yeah.
who do you talk to go find them? I mean, but with the help of the franchise in the beginning, overcoming that curve was very challenging, but absolutely achievable.
What about the challenge of going from, and this is a sentence that I hear more from franchisees, the challenge of going from having a certain degree of responsibility in a job, and for a lot of you guys, you're in a job, quote unquote, but you're a lot of times commission only or very low base, so you're almost already very entrepreneurial. But what was the challenge of going from the employee to now it's your business, and so like everything is your job? It's the payroll, the billing, the scheduling, the everything, and the sales. Was that challenging to have the transition between those two worlds?
Oh my gosh, it is very tough. You don't realize it until you start doing it, that when you're working in the sales background or for a company, you're going out there and you're making sales and you're getting stuff done and growing your territory, but you don't realize all the other departments and people that are out there supporting your role, right? I mean, you have your HR, your payroll company, all those people. So when you start your own company, it's like someone calls your office and says, "Hey, can you transfer me to your billing department?" I mean, yeah, hold on. You press the hold button and then you pick your phone back up, right? I'm the billing department.
Yeah, so that's right.
Can I talk to your HR? Yeah, hold on. You press hold and then you answer the phone again. HR.
That's right.
I mean, yeah. It really is challenging because you're not really used to doing those roles. You're not really 100% sure what the role. So it is tough. It is really tough in the very beginning to try and, juggle all of those departments at the same time, learn all of those departments, handle all those departments, because coming from the device background, yeah, I had the sales and marketing and all that, but I didn't have the experience of, you're in charge of everything. I mean, if there's an issue with payroll, it's your topic. If there's an issue with billing, it's your topic. If there's an issue with HR or recruiting, it's on you. I mean, there's no other department to email or get support on that you call and reach out to. I mean, there's rocks over there that need to be moved, and I mean, you have to move them. There's nobody else. So
right.
It was very, very challenging to learn all those things, to get accustomed to those things, to figure out how to handle those situations while you're handling this and this and that. So, I mean, it's a learning curve. You learn to delegate tasks. You learn to put your to-do list together, and just try to work through it. I mean, that is a challenging part for sure.
Yeah, definitely wakes you up in the morning, right?
No, absolutely.
Yeah, and that's what we hear from everybody. I think but I think what's cool about it is, and if you're on the phone with us, if you at least have the relationship building side, or there's somebody in your organization who can do the relationship building side, that's, I think, a side that if you don't have, it's going to be really challenging, right? Because it doesn't matter how good you are at the administrative. If you're not able to dislodge the business, if you're not able to get the referrals, it won't matter, right? So I think as it's cool because Asa just talked about how, man, I stepped right into it. And in the marketing, that's what I was doing. But then the challenge is as well, now you've got to become an entrepreneur, right? And so it's a cool journey. Hey, and we're running out of time, so I want to ask you, Patrick Cashman has a very good question. He's asking about what advice do you have in starting to recruit quality caregivers? So we talked a little bit about that earlier, and he loves that you mentioned Vince Lombardi. He's a big Packer fan from Wisconsin.
Nice, I love it.
Yeah, so quality caregivers, what advice do you have to getting that done?
I really feel, and what we've learned through the years of hiring great quality caregivers is setting up a process to weed out the bad ones. So we have a process to where from the very beginning we're looking for caregivers that meet our criteria, right? So setting a base of what kind of caregivers are we looking for, what are the undesirable candidates that we don't want, and why. And so we have a list of about 7 or 8 undesirable candidates that it's like, we've come together as a team saying if they have this or this or this as their background, or if this is what they have or what they're looking for, then we don't really like those candidates because of this reason. So knowing in the very beginning what you want in your caregivers, what you're looking for in your caregivers, and then also having a list of people that say, if they have this or that or this or come from this, then that's not really a good candidate because they don't seem to last very long with us. The other thing is our processes. So we do a phone screen where we have phone interview questions. The first 5 or 6 questions are looking for really, do they meet our criteria, or do they fall into one of the undesirable candidates, or do they want too much money? So we do a phone interview. Then the next step of the process that we do is a face-to-face interview, and so we're looking through many things when they come in for their face-to-face interview. Our questions are designed to make sure they're meeting the standards and what we're looking for in the caregiver. And then the next process that we do is all references. So we do the employment references, verifications, we do personal references to make sure that everything matches up like what they say. So we have all of the information that we could possibly and legally obtain to find out if that is a great candidate for our industry. So making a list, who do we want, who do we not want, and then setting up processes to weed them through is the most effective way that we've found. I hope that answers your question.
No, it totally does. And I would think Patrick can give us some feedback. He also asked, we said, how did you start recruiting? But I think maybe what that means is, how quickly were you hiring caregivers? And I think it's kind of funny, right? I think it's Robert where sometimes when he meets our new franchisees, he'll call them and say, hey, welcome to the team. How many caregivers do you have? Right? It's like, it's the first question, right? So you really start hiring caregivers immediately. And it never stops, right, Asa? I mean, you never get to a point where you're like, hey, I've got enough caregivers, I'm good.
This hour. And then next hour you don't,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Like it never, ever, you're always recruiting, right?
Every day, all day long, always. Because the thing that I tell people and our recruiter and our scheduler is like, well, I think we're good. And I'm like, this hour? But it's like, guys, tomorrow, we have no idea what tomorrow's going to bring or next week's going to bring. And tomorrow or next week, we may need 2 new people. What if somebody, something happens where they can't work now? Or what if we sign on 2 new clients? Right? I mean, so it's just constantly recruiting, using your processes to find the good candidates and weed them out, the bad ones. But no, in the beginning, it's funny because it's like the question that in the training is like, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? What comes first, the client or the caregivers? Like, do we hire caregivers on first, or do we wait to sign on clients? And I would, it's kind of a funny question that is presented at training, and I think Chad brings it up, but definitely hire caregivers, because in the beginning we hire caregivers first. Never have enough good quality caregivers. Never think that you do, I guess what I should say.
Right.
So always recruiting, because you never know when you're going to sign the client on. You never know if they want to add extra days or shifts or hours. So always be recruiting, and that way when you have the client that you sign up, you already have people. Boom! I can have Christine start today or tomorrow. Which one would you like? As opposed to if you sign a couple clients up and then you don't have your recruiters in the process. Like, okay, I interviewed this one and I just have to do her references. So, or I just did orientation with these 2 caregivers, so they're ready to go. If you don't have interviews or caregivers in the pipeline or in the process or hired, you're going to have to start from all over, and it could be a couple of days before you actually hire somebody on, have the orientation set up, ready to go. And so that's, a couple, 2-3 days that the client's not getting care, 2 or 3 days that you've lost in revenue, right? I mean, if they want to start today and you don't have somebody, we have trackers that we put together that track all that. So that's lost revenue. So
yeah.
So there's a plethora of reasons to always have caregivers on staff and always be in recruiting. So absolutely recruiting in the very beginning before signing up clients.
So, and we're going to go to the last 2 questions, guys. It's almost 11. So a great question here from Pat. Talk about the time frame to get to cash flow positive, and then the time frame to get to where you felt like you were making a good living off of the business.
No, great question. And there's so many variables that go into that question. And it just depends on where you kind of want to start out. And that's the great thing about this business, this company, this model, is that you have the freedoms to decide how you want to start. So do you want a big, luxurious office with all the new furniture and brand new neon sign out front, or do you want something that's practical and modest? I mean, or some people I know start with just a studio office. I mean, it just depends. Yeah. So your hard costs in the beginning, how you want to start it up, what all do you want to buy, all of that, your rent, all that stuff, how much your hard costs are in the beginning are going to determine how quick you get to profitability. And so that's I think a key question, a key part of the answer to that question. Now, in ours, we got a fairly nice office. It's about 1,500 square foot. It has 1, 2, 3 offices in it. In the very beginning, a sign out front. So not anything extravagant or opulent, but nice, functional. So in the beginning, I remember looking at the books that we pretty much were able to create a profit within the first 6 months. And I would say at the 2-year mark was at a point where it's like, this is a pretty good income off of the business. So I would say probably at about the 2-year mark was really at a point where we were like, this is a great income, and how do we keep growing it from there? So I would say at the 3-year mark, I was at the, pretty close to where I was at with the device level of income, which is amazing because everybody has to stop and think about this thought real quick. And if we have more questions, we can definitely answer those. But what we had to realize is that everybody in device knows that they want to be successful. They want to leave a legacy for them and their family, right? I mean, we have that spirit of wanting to be business owners eventually. Like, I don't know one device guy that I talked to that said, I want to do this for the rest of my life. I mean, all of them had this entrepreneurial experience, no matter who I talked to on my company or other companies, Abbott or Bard or, whoever I talked to. They eventually wanted to start their own company in something. So the one thing that what I always thought about and what I realized was, if you can create a business to, basically meet what your income is now, I mean, that's phenomenal. And the other thing that we have to stop and think about is working for these big companies. Yeah, it's a great position. It's a great income. And you look at everything you create and you build for that company, right? What if they decide next week that they're going to close your territory down? I mean, right. It's like you worked for how many years building that up, creating that business. If they take it away from you or layoffs or whatever it may be next week, how much of that business that you created with your blood, sweat, and tears over the last how many years for them, how much of that do you get to keep or is yours? Zero. None. Right? I mean, so that's the difference between creating a successful territory and device versus creating a successful, your own entrepreneur business, right? I mean, nobody could come in and say that I'm going to close this down next week and none of this that you've worked for is yours. That just doesn't happen, right? So
Right.
that's just a huge thought that I had, and when I kind of saw the light and the difference between, working for the company and device versus it's time to create your own business. I mean, it's just a huge difference.
Man, I love that. Well, now what I wanted to find out, well, hang on, let's see here.
I hope I didn't ramble on there. Sorry, I wanted to get that point in, Marcus. I apologize.
No, here's what you're getting. Patrick said, good point. Brian is like, man, that's exactly what happened to me in the device business. So,
I mean, my thought and my personality and who I am is like, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to drive and I'm going to push and I'm going to give it everything I have because I want to be the best. I want to win, right? And so I'm going to go out and grind and give my blood, sweat, and tears and work as hard as I can. And so it's like, why would I put that much energy and effort into something that I'm doing it for somebody else? Why not put that much energy, effort, passion, and drive? Well, I'm gonna work just as hard working for a device company as I am working for myself. So why don't I just put that much energy and effort into myself and my own company and my own business, and then you can grow something that's yours. I mean, it's true, guys. I mean, once you stop and realize and think that, it just kind of changed my perspective on everything.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I can agree more. And these guys are all saying, yeah, that's why. And I think that's why we all start looking, right? That's why we start to entertain businesses like this, and especially businesses that are going to complement your skill sets and your natural abilities.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. That's right on. So hey, it's 11 o'clock. So what I wanted to do is if you could share, we talk a lot about the money and the sacrifice and all that, but I think it's also important that we talk about, what it is that we do. So I just wanted to have you sign off with an experience or the reason why you do this, and what has it been like to care for the seniors in your market.
I mean, it's just an amazing, rewarding experience to know that you're helping somebody do things that they cannot do on a day-to-day basis, as well as, we have helped so many seniors and couples that I know that if we weren't there or wouldn't have been able to assist them in their home, that, they would have had to get rid of everything they had, go into a place that they may not be familiar with. But the other thing that I have seen personally is I have witnessed couples that one of them is far worse than the other, right? And so one of the husband or wife can't help the other one that needs care. And so we send in caregivers to assist with those activities, and you have been able to not only enable that person to stay safely at home, but you've, pretty much helped save that relationship as well. I mean, if that person had to move out and go to a home to get the care they needed, it's tough and a big strain on the marriage. So not only do you help the person, you help the marriage, you help the family members that are worried sick every single day about, is mom getting food, is mom getting care, has she fallen, does she take her bath today? You help the family members as well to relieve an unbelievable amount of stress and worry from their life. As well as I have personally assisted seniors that have been denied by their long-term care insurance company, and I know 100% I was able to go in and appeal those claims, those denials, and get them overturned and approved. And I knew without a doubt in my mind that if I was not there, if Amada wasn't there, and I wasn't there assisting that person in the denial and the appeal of their claim, there is absolutely no way they would have got the appeal overturned and approved for care. So it's just an amazing accomplishment and amazing rewarding feeling that you have as a person, as a human in your soul, to know that, not only are you helping them, but you've helped them with the reversal of a claim denial that nobody else in your area would have been able to help them with. So, I mean, it's just an amazing, rewarding experience when you pair all of that together in one picture.
That's really cool, man. Well, listen, I can't thank you enough, man, for being a part of our team and also for doing this call for us. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Absolutely, guys. I am honored to do it.
Yeah, and by the way, give me just last parting advice. You talked about the benefits of the business, but for those guys that are going through the discovery process right now, what is your advice for them to get to the point where they get to, getting to the point you got to of this is right for me or this is not right for me? What is your advice for them at this very moment that they find themselves in?
You know, I would basically get in touch and follow with Tim, go through the process with Tim. You know, in the very beginning, I really wasn't for sure on this. I really didn't understand that. You know, I remember even thinking, like, what is this Amada? Is this even real? Like, what is, you know, what are they saying is even true? But once you build a relationship with Tim and you talk with him more and more and you go through the process, and so you see this in this process. Then you go through the next process with Tim and you see this, and then you go through the next steps with the process with Tim, and it becomes more and more knowledgeable. You start to see and understand it better and better and better, that if you didn't quite go through the next step in the process, you may not know that piece of information or find that out. So I would 100% recommend, you know, building a strong relationship with Tim, asking him. He really likes to be called at 2 a.m. his time. I mean, that is the time that he answers the questions the best. So make sure you cut me off here.
That is exactly true. Yes.
Go through the process, but in all seriousness, go through the process, learn as much as you can, and keep going through the steps with Tim. You'll see that you're starting to have a better and better understanding of the company, of the process, of the business, and you can make a more informed decision about, you know, making this, you know, leap into the partnership with Amada. So go through the process, find out all the information, make an informed decision with him. That's the recommendation that I would 100% give to everybody.
That's awesome, man. Well, listen, guys, for you, thank you so much for taking up your time to be here with us. It means a lot to me and Asa that you would start sacrificing even in this discovery process to learn more. We really, really, really appreciate your time. And as Asa said, just get a hold of Tim, keep going through the discovery process. Many of you we're going to see this month here at Discovery Day. We have a Discovery Day tomorrow and a Discovery Day on the 24th, as Tim just told me through the wall, 24th. But so make sure you get with Tim and schedule your next steps of discovery. Asa, thank you so much.
Absolutely, Marcus. Thanks, great hearing your guys' voice. Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.